Ladies and gentlemen, this is actually huge news. It's amusing, and it's actually important. I'll explain why. Trump finally posts on his Truth Social platform, reviving one of his most famous phrases, The Independent. So, he goes, a hashtag Kofivi, which I never really understood what that was all about. I know it was a typo or whatever. But anyway, read the post, which included a photo of Mr. Trump on the phone at his Mar-a-Lago club in Florida. The hashtag is a reference to... We can go ahead. The hashtag is a reference to an iconic typo from the former president in 2017. In 2017, he tweeted the accidental, despite the negative press, Kofivi, and nothing more, setting off speculation as to what he could have possibly meant. Anyway, so he showed a picture of himself on the phone and at Mar-a-Lago, breaking the President Trump has just posted for the first time on Truth Social. Hit subscribe to this channel, ladies and gentlemen. Hit subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel right now below in the pinned comment. I have a very, very important segment on the Stock Market Crash channel regarding Elon Musk and hedge funds. So, please go ahead. Hit subscribe to this channel. Hit subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel. Now, the FTC is investigating Elon Musk, but he actually just won a major lawsuit pertaining to Tesla. And Elon Musk's 9.1 Twitter share purchase is being investigated by the FTC. It's like, you know what? They're just going to try when the machine or when the system or when Democrats especially want to either intimidate you and in some way, they'll investigate you, even though there's really nothing to investigate. So if it's Elon Musk or Trump or anyone, and Elon Musk is on Twitter today talking about how it's Democrats who've become, who've gone off the rails. Not that he's become more conservative, which I think is the case for most people looking at the Democratic Party. Elon Musk's initial purchase of Twitter stock, which the Tesla CEO said started at the end of January and continued until the beginning of April before he bought the company, is now reportedly being examined by the Federal Trade Commission. So that's going on. The company is going to be his, so that's not going to be an issue. But really quickly, if you look at Elon Musk's, if you look at his tweets from today, and we'll get to Truth Social in a second, because I do think that President Trump tweeting on Truth Social, you could look, Trump joins Truth Social, I'm back, Kofivi. I think that it's very good if Trump has his platform and then joins Twitter. Initially, before Elon Musk purchased Twitter, I was saying that it would be a terrible, terrible thing. Now, if it is a mindless, hysterical, paranoid, apoplectic, cyber nightmare, a dystopian digital world where morally superior, wonderful, highly educated liberal Democrats can can hear lies by omission masquerading as the truth or news, where they can retweet lies like they did about Trump and Russia for like 4 or 5 years, or a whole bunch of stories about Trump that CNN and the Washington Post eventually, or the New York Times or MSNBC eventually had to retract. Like him clearing Lafayette Square, which never happened. Like Donald Trump Jr. Being notified of emails, which never happened. Like Trump having a 7-hour gap of communication that he deleted, which never happened. Like him being installed by the Kremlin, which never happened. Like him passing classified data off during a meeting which never happened, which literally can't happen because it's the president that classifies and declassifies things when he talks in a meeting. Because everything that is said in a high-level meeting is classified. So the whole thing is like complete nonsense. That was just from a source. I think it was the New York Times, a source. But anyway, hit subscribe to this channel, ladies and gentlemen. This is huge. Hit subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel below if you want to support my work. My Patreon is below. But ladies and gentlemen, you can look really quickly. I mean, you could look at Elon Musk's Twitter. He basically said that, you know what, it's not me, it's the Democratic Party. And there's a great little meme of Tim Pool speaking with one of the legal counsel on Joe Rogan. Twitter legal counsel is, here's an example of Twitter's left-wing bias. And then it's the legal counsel. Well, we have to take context into consideration. And then Tim Pool, Twitter's interpretation of the context is affected by their left-wing bias. And then the legal scholar or the legal part of the legal team on Twitter, I would need to see an example of that. So it's the same thing. Like, it's just, well, what are the examples of a bias? The Hunter Biden story is an example, clear example. The New York Post was suspended, a true, genuine, legitimate story. It was suspended because it harmed Democrats at a crucial time. And BuzzFeed, so the New York Post was suspended if it harmed Democrats, and BuzzFeed was never suspended, never broke any Twitter guidelines when they published the Steele dossier, which was purely fabricated lies and nonsense, a garbage document. And then they say, well, the government used it. It's like, so what? The government could also spread lies. That it usually, oftentimes does. And you could look at his, you can look at Elon Musk's tweets, and you can see that he is basically like most people looking at the Democratic Party saying, okay, why do you need to silence and suppress? But and they're going to use, he's purchasing it before a stock market crash and devastating financial collapse globally, not just in the U.S. And it's unfortunate. And I explain this in the stock market crash channel. I explain this below in the article I wrote in the Federalist. Read that. I wrote that in October. GDP is contracting, ladies and gentlemen. U.S. GDP fell at a 1.4% pace to start the year. So it's like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This is like the worst thing. And you have skyrocketing inflation, GDP falling. And I talked about all of this in October. I predicted all of this in October in the Federalist. He's purchasing Twitter, or he's purchased Twitter, Elon Musk, because he knows that he won't be able to purchase Twitter with his Tesla stock. When the whole thing tanks, the market tanks, Tesla, his stock tanks, everything else tanks, and he needs to purchase Twitter because it's an echo chamber, it's a dystopian digital nightmare that can be used against him by Democrats. The Democratic Party will use it against him, and the establishment, quote unquote, run by the Democratic Party, or like people left behind by the Republican Party, like Kinzinger and Cheney, who don't represent the 73 million Americans who voted for Trump. That's why, like, when people say, oh, well, Trump's supporters are this, like, no, 73 million Americans, you can't paint them with one brush. And believe me, they're far less vile and sinister and insidious than the average liberal Democrat who voted for mashed potato brains, who disowned family and friends, 30-year friendships and loyal, beautiful, relationships, just because a person voted for Trump, ignoring all the horrible things and that mashed potato brains Biden has said. What he said to Charlemagne the God was worse than anything Trump has ever said, categorically worse. And I mean, you could look from Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld's never-ending counterinsurgency wars and conflicts that Biden voted for, to Libya, to Hunter and his emails, to everything else, every other failed policy or foreign policy that he was a part of, mashed potato brains Biden, to all the accusations against him. Trump's presidency was much, the fact that he was opposed by the Lincoln Project is enough of a moral reason to have voted for Trump over mashed potato brains Biden. But you see what's taking place right now. Trump, Doha Agreement, which Biden completely botched. Reversed U.S. foreign policy, Trump did. He's the one who got us out of there, not mashed potato brains who completely botched it. Okay? Those 13 Americans should be alive today. And those 100 Afghans should be alive today. First president to step foot in North Korea, Trump. Okay, President Moon Jae-in of South Korea stated that Trump deserved the Nobel Peace Prize. Record low Black and Latino unemployment. First Step Act. We had economic growth. We had hundreds of thousands of new manufacturing jobs. He signed an executive order combating anti-Semitism on college campuses, Trump did. He allocated more funding and made it permanent to historically black colleges and universities than any president ever, Trump. And the reverse is terrible economy, terrible foreign policy, geopolitical nightmare in Europe under mashed potato brains in his presidency and Democrats in the House and Senate. We can go on forever. Wealth inequality, poverty is increasing. We're heading into a recession, all because people don't like Trump's tweets. Well, he's going to be on Truth Social now, and he'll probably also get on Twitter. I think that if he gets on Twitter, it'll actually help Truth Social in a way. You might say that's counterintuitive, but that could be the case. He could tweet on Twitter and then talk about his tweets on Truth Social. And that would completely warp the minds of the already warped minds of morally superior liberal Democrats who obsess over every word. So, is it good? The caveat is I've always said if he gives them political momentum, in the morally superior liberal Democrats who are wonderful, highly educated people, they derive political will and momentum from indignation. It's their fuel. Like you'd pump gas that's overpriced, that's going through the roof in terms of price into your car. The fuel of morally superior liberal Democrats is indignation. If he just gives them that fuel, it'll be bad. But if he actually, is able to promote dialogue, debate, discourse, discussion, Truth Social, that would be good along with Twitter. Give me your thoughts for Trump. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe.